Have you ever scrolled through your feed and thought, why does it feel like everyone else has it all figured out? The perfect lifestyle, that flawless hustle, success stories at every darn turn. But what are we really not seeing? It's the highlight reel. Behind those posts are carefully curated narratives, and often enough, not much else. We're really fed this illusion, right? That success is always right around the corner, inching, right? If we just work harder, push more, wake up earlier, right? But here's the thing. So much of what we see online, is performance, right? It's really a carefully staged production designed to sell us something, right? Whether that's a product, a promise, or even just a persona. I hate to use this word loosely, but I will. And those gurus, right? Gurus, I'll call them, with massive, massive followings. Many, I say many, not all, many aren't as knowledgeable or authentic as they seem, right? Today, I want to pull back the curtain, right, on this carefully crafted illusion, right, to reveal one hard truth. Perception isn't always a reality, right? And in a world obsessed with optics, clarity is power. So guys, social media has made it dangerously easy to confuse the shit with popularity with credibility, right? I'm going to dive into that a little more. So for instance, we see someone with 1 million plus followers and think, wow, they must know what the fuck they're doing, right? But here's the thing. Charisma doesn't equal confidence, right? Aesthetics don't guarantee wisdom. And yet, these surface level signals often influence our choices more than we'd like to admit, right? I get it. Trust me, I get it. I've been there too. I've bought the course many years ago when I was just starting out, followed the influencers, and believed the hype. Yeah, I fell victim to it many years ago. I will blatantly admit it. I clicked the add to cart on the program that promised that transformation. And let me be clear. This isn't a video that is me being, pissed off from, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, maybe even 8 years ago. I don't know the timeline, right? This is just me kind of, all right, what topic can I speak to today? That's usually how I go about, choosing my topics carefully, unless I'm, planning on having a guest where there aligns the topics are going to correlate to whom I'm speaking to. But here, when I'm doing my one-off, sessions of my podcasting, depending upon the day, I see what's trending, or I kind of say like, hey, how am I feeling today? What am I feeling today? What have I gone through, previously leading up until this moment where I'm saying, hey, what episode am I going to craft up, curate for my listeners and viewers to hear me talk about? Not to just sit in front of the camera and randomly go on and on and on, because that's not my position or my goal. My goal is to provide value on here, on this show, for the Fit for Business, for whoever is watching and listening and following along, right? But needless to say, at that point, that transformation for me never occurred. But often than not, what I received was kind of just, how can I say, well-marketed fluff, right? We know what that means, right? No real insight, no depth, no tools. I couldn't apply shit, right? And there's one experience I still think about, right? Again, I signed up for that mentorship program run by someone with an impressive online presence, slick videos, glowing testimonials, a following, in the hundreds of thousands, in millions, if not. It looked legit. Once inside, I realized, and I say this a lot, it was just smoke and mirrors. No support. No structure. Just, recycled quotes dressed up as what they called a strategy. At the time, I felt duped, right? I felt, holy shit. They got, they pulled the curtains over my head. They got my ass. But more than that, I was just frustrated, not even with them, myself, because I got hoaxed. That late 90s fucking infomercial, right? That frustration, at that point led me to a, turning point, right? I started asking tougher questions, right? Who are these people really? what qualifies them to teach or lead me? Are they just really good at branding, right? Or do they actually have the experience to back up their message, right? I stopped getting dazzled by the numbers and kind of started seeking more substance back then. Still to this day. There's some people I follow and I still question, their innate abilities to actually do what they say. And I think a lot of it's for flash and the followers and just to get the money, right? 1,000%. Listen, I own and operate a business. I'm not a nonprofit. I'm here to make a profit. But I'm here to make a profit respectably and be able to help our clientele, not to dupe them, right? So moving along, I want to talk about the hustle culture for a moment. Something I can, inexplicably say I follow along with, in my own lane, so to speak. I think it's important, hustle culture, right? It's everywhere. The grind, the rise and grind mindset, the endless stream of content, right? Telling us that, we're not constantly pushing ourselves. We're falling behind, right? But, is that true? Or is this just like convenient messaging for those profiting off of our anxiety, right? Think about that. Hustle culture, it thrives on one thing only. Your and our ambition, right? It sells this idea that hard work only is the fucking answer. And if we're not succeeding, it's simply because one thing, we're not working hard enough. But I think that narrative is deeply flawed, right? Because it ignores context. It disregards privilege, right? And it sells a one-size-fits-all roadmap that rarely fits anyone, right? So often the advice we get online is nothing more than empty platitudes, right? Hear me out. Just start. Manifest success. Don't quit. But what's missing is really a nuance, a strategy, a context, that mentorship, right? A space to consider your own goals, not just someone else's definition of what achievement is. And I think that's a thing, right? You have to figure out what are your goals, what is your achievement, what are you looking to get to, not by somebody else's standards, right? And when we follow the hustle culture blindly, I really think we lose sight of what we or you actually want. You're chasing after someone else's version of success. What does that mean? And it comes with real consequences. I can admit burnout, confusion, feeling like we're never doing good enough, feeling like we're giving it our all. Does that sound fucking familiar? I bet it does. And here's the good news. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't. You don't have to do it. Hear me out. There are people out there who are doing things differently. Thoughtful, intentional, right? Intentional creators who are transparent about their journeys, who offer real actionable insights instead of vague promises. People who just don't sell the dream, but they really can help you build your own and on your own terms. There are people like that. That's not me trying to sell you anything right here and now. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the latter, right? There are those that actually say what they mean and do what they say. Hands down, right? But to find them, right, what do we have to do? You have to get better at filtering that noise. What's the noise? The social media noise. And it's huge because there's billions and billions of users online. So how do you separate it? That's what I want to talk about. Let's talk about some red flags. I've dug into this, many episodes ago, maybe halfway through the Fit for Business, as this is episode 69, I believe, at this point. Yeah, so let's talk about the red flags. What are some fucking red flags that you hopefully, and this is what it comes down to, right? There's book smart and there's street smarts. I always talk about this with somebody and I'm not going to mention their name. I can't say I'm too book smart. I can read a book, I might have to read a book 9, 10, 15, 20 times in order for me to absorb something. I'm the type of person like I can't read something or somebody can't teach me something. I have to do it to learn it. That's me. There are those that can do the opposite by reading and consuming and even watching videos. Although watching a video and doing something along at the same time, I can consume and I can learn it though. I have the street smarts. I've always said that about myself. Book smart for me wasn't my thing, but street smarts, it takes a lot to get one over on me. And I'm not tooting my own horn, right? And I said about it a while back. But I was kind of like in a weird spot kind of thing. And that's what these guys and men and women prey on, right? They prey on the weak. That's what it comes down to. Red flags. Main flag number one. If a creator spends more time showing off their lifestyle than offering value, that's a clue. One big lifestyle guy, I'm not going to mention names, but anyway, you guys probably think of what I'm talking about. One gentleman, lavish lifestyle, only showed women in his videos, had millions upon millions of videos, followers. It was just women working out and like guns and toys and shit. You probably know what I'm talking about. If the advice sounds good, but leaves you thinking, okay, but how? If they're promising fast success without effort or real strategy, run or swim the opposite way, right? Then there are the psychological traps. That's what we're talking about, right? The authority bias, where someone looks like an expert, so you just assume they are, right? The allure of social proof, massive followings, viral content, right? Somebody that is one of the most well-known fucking marketers in the world, Dan Kennedy. He does something very well that he's done in his career. He's a massive marketer, and he always has that social proof, right? Right. So, content, flashy testimonials, right? Where I'm going with this. These things trigger quick trust, but real trust, I think that's, for me at least, it's built through consistency, humility, and value over time, right? So how do we shift? How do you stop falling for the hype and start finding what's real? First, slow down, right? Don't let the algorithm make decisions for you. Pause, take a pause, follow, like, or buy, right? So think about that again. Don't let the algorithm just keep pushing shit in front of you that's going to make you buy, execute, follow, like, or whatever. Ask this. What is this person really offering me? Is it substance or is it just spectacle? Look for creators who show their process, not just their outcome. So you're seeing a lot of that more and more and more, last year going into this year. Behind the scenes, people showing you their process. They're showing you like what's going on. They don't hide their expertise behind paywalls, right? They share lessons, not just slogans, right? And above all, people who make you feel seen and not just sold to, right? There's something to, that's something to sit with, right? Why are you working so hard? What are you working toward? Is that goal truly yours, or is it a dream someone else sold you? We deserve to pursue something meaningful. You guys deserve that. And meaning doesn't always look like 6 a.m. alarms and nonstop grind, right? Sometimes it looks like rest, like clarity, like redefining success on your own terms, right? And I fall into this sometimes. The internet is so loud. Your inner voice, that's what it comes down to. That's the one that matters most. And if you've been feeling drained, disillusioned, or just over it, that's not failure. That's just a signal. That's just your intuition saying it's time to reassess. So take the pause, unfollow the noise, and reclaim your digital space, right? Fill your feed with people who challenge you to support your growth and respect your attention. That's what it comes down to. Your time is valuable, right? And your goals deserve depth. And your journey deserves honesty. So that's what I say. Hopefully, by tuning in on this episode, you see my bits, my reels, or you're watching on YouTube, or you're listening on Spotify, something struck a chord with you. And that was my ideal goal. So thanks for tuning in. And if this episode did resonate with you guys, take a few minutes, reflect on your feed, what's adding value, what's just adding pressure, and clean it up. Get intentional. And remember, success isn't something we chase blindly. It's something that we build clarity and purpose and authenticity. So I'll see you guys next time. And until then, stay curious, question everything, and trust your gut, trust yourself. And if you haven't done so already, if this is your first time with the Fit for Business podcast, I'm your host, Jarod Lehn. And thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, go ahead and tap that subscribe button on YouTube. And as always, if you're listening to on Spotify, tap that follow along button. We'll see you next time.